What's up guys, I'm 𝕤𝕤. Welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I achieve this look. This is pretty much like my go-to makeup look for like pretty much anything that's important. Like this is the look that I always go to. I got a surprise for you guys. This is also the look that I did for this Milani campaign. Like, can you guys see me? This is me. I'm showing you guys how I achieved this look that I did for this Milani campaign. I've been showing it to you guys a lot on Instagram. I'm sure you guys see this look a lot. So yeah guys, if you would like to see how I achieved this look and the products that I use to achieve this look, please keep on watching and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. And let's go ahead and get into today's video. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get started. Usually I already have my brows done off camera, but I'm gonna do the whole process with you guys today, and then still at the same time try not to make this a long one. My brow routine is pretty much the same. Now everything I use is Milani for my brows, so I'm gonna start off with the Milani Precision Brow in Espresso. Since I barely have a brow, I could pretty much manipulate my brows to look any way I want them to. And this is the shape that I typically go for. Yeah, so I make the outline and then I'm gonna go in and fill it in with hair-like strokes. Do you do majority of your makeup first and then do your brows, or do you do your brows first like I do? I mean, I've tried both ways, but starting off with my brows is just what I'm accustomed to, so I always do it this way. Okay, so the brows are down and now I'm going to carve them out with concealer. Okay, so this brush is like my tried and true brush. It's by ColourPop. It came out a long time ago, so I don't believe you could get this brush anymore. They don't even have a name on it, it just says ColourPop. I mean, this is the shape of the brush. I know it's crusty, but don't judge me. Okay, so now I'm taking a little bit of MD22. I just put a little dab on the back of my hand and then I tap my brush into the concealer. And I also do the same thing for the top of my brows. I just use the same concealer. I know some people use like a brighter concealer under their brows, but I don't. I just use the same concealer that's close to my skin tone for the top and the bottom. For the most part, I never really get my brows like 100% even. Like it's weird. Like this one's a little bit more arched than this one, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't really bother me, but because I know if you really took the time to try to get them to be perfect, you can ruin them. So I get them to a place where I like them and I move on. And then from here, I'm just going to take a domed concealer brush and blend out the concealer. And I also do like the inner corners because you don't really want that really harsh brow look. And then I move on from here. Like with my brows, I touch them up as I go, so I just like to put the shape down and then I come back and put the finishing touches on them. Now that we're moving on to skin, start off with a clean base. I feel like the way you prep your skin prior to putting on makeup will make or break your look. So go ahead and wash your face and moisturize. I'm using the Nécessaire body lotion. I know this is not for the face, but it's such a nice thick cream and I just love how it looks underneath my makeup. And over the years I've learned that it doesn't matter what skin type that you are, you need moisture. So if you have oily skin like I do, well, I'm like combo oily in my T-zone, and then the rest is pretty much normal. If I don't moisturize my skin, I feel like my skin overcompensates and produces a lot more oil than it needs to. So I like to wear a really thick moisturizer underneath. And it also depends on what formula of foundation that you're using, because if I'm going to use a semi-matte foundation, I'm going to go heavy on the moisturizer. But yeah, it's one of those things that you learn as you go and see what works for you. Okay, so for foundation, we're going to be using the NARS Soft Matte. But before we do that, we're going to be putting on some of the Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury. And everything that I use today will be linked down below, including the colors and everything like that. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on the high points of my face. Like, I love this stuff. It looks so good. And before I blend everything out, like, I still have a little bit of concealer left over from my brows, and that concealer is way too expensive to be wasting any drop of it. So I just like to take the little bit that's left and put it under my eyes. It is a full coverage concealer, so I just put that little bit under my eyes and just let it set. Okay, we're gonna be using the Morphe E63 brush. If you've seen any of my videos, you know this is like my favorite brush. I use it all the time for pretty much everything. So I'm just going to blend this out. Like, the Flawless Filter just gives your skin that dewy, lit from within kind of look, and it looks amazing under foundation, and if you was to wear it on its own, which I normally do. Are you guys seeing the glow? Right. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the foundation. I'm using the shade Caracas. I don't think this is my exact match for the NARS foundation. When I went to Sephora, they matched me to Moria, which I do think is a better match, but I have Caracas, so this is what we're going to be using, and we're going to also be blending it out with this brush as well. This is also, I think, a full coverage foundation, and depending on the kind of coverage that you want, you could use a sponge to blend this out. Like, look at my skin now in comparison, like, so pretty. This is definitely one of my favorite foundations. I have a whole review on this foundation if you guys would like to see it, but just know that this foundation is the GOAT. And then I use whatever's like left on my brush and go over my forehead. My forehead doesn't need a lot of foundation or coverage in my opinion, so I don't like to go too heavy because, like, you know, it settles in the lines. It could look cakey towards the end of the day, so I go pretty light on my forehead. Okay, my sponge is wet, so now I like to use my sponge and just pat my face to take off any excess foundation, make sure everything is like flawlessly blended. Okay, now we're gonna move on to concealers. The Pat McGrath concealer is my favorite concealer. I try other things, but it always leads me back to this one. Let me know down below what's your favorite concealer so I can try it out. We're going to be using M17, which is lighter than my skin tone, and MD22, which is closer to my skin tone. And since you already put the darker shade underneath, which I usually use just to like even out my skin tone, I'm not going to use it right now, so I'm going to use the lighter one just to add some brightness to my face. And I don't use a lot of concealer anymore. Like, once you try this method, you realize that you're just using way too much because you just keep blending and blending and blending, and what you're really doing is just wasting concealer. So I don't do that anymore. So I'm just put a little down here, a little bit on my cupid's bow, and down the bridge of my nose and on my forehead. And then I take a little bit of the darker one and just go around. And I also do this. I remember when people was doing this with powder, but I always felt like that made around my mouth look dry and ashy. So I do it with concealer, but I like to put it on my face before I put my bronzer so I don't get that really harsh, like, straight line. I don't like it on me, so I don't do it. This is the way that I find that works best for me. This concealer is one of those concealers that you could let dry for a little bit. I personally prefer it. It gives you a ton more coverage, or you could use a fan. I'll link this one down below for you guys if you guys would like to check it out. Also, to do this, I used a concealer that was closer to my skin tone. You can use a lighter one, but you're gonna be blending for a while, and if it's not going well with your skin tone, you could look ashy. So I used one that was closer to my skin tone, so it's gonna give me coverage because I have like darkness around my mouth, and then also give me that snatched, lifted cheekbones. And remember, your sponge is your best friend. If you ever want to even out something, or something looks a little too harsh, just use your sponge that has your foundation on it and just even it all out. I'm gonna use a smaller brush on my nose, and I'm gonna leave the concealer under my eyes for just a little bit longer. So we're gonna go ahead and start bronzing and contouring. We're gonna be using the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick in dark, and we're still using the same brush. I do have two of them, but I just go in with the same brush. This stick is very easy to blend out. And then for the cheek part, you kind of want to blend upwards. So like, instead of patting with my sponge like this to like push it up, I turn it around and then I just pull upwards. If you still have that really strong line, then you could just pat it out. And then I know some people like do their jawline. I mean, you could definitely do that, but that's not something that I typically do. One thing I hate about doing that, and even like the contouring, I hate when you turn your face and everything's just so harsh and strong. Like, I hate that. So I'm just gonna go in with my sponge again and make sure everything is blended out. Now we're gonna finally do the under eyes. We're gonna be using my sponge. I do like to use brushes for under my eyes as well. Sometimes I use, let's see if I can find it. Okay, yeah, I use the M356 brush, which is like a domed concealer brush. It's amazing for under the eyes. It is a Morphe brush, so it's not expensive, but we're gonna be using my sponge. This is the Morphe Area collab. This sponge is amazing. The other red sponge, hate it. Do not recommend. It's really hard and it doesn't hold a candle to how soft this one is. And if you have like creasy under eyes like me, like letting your concealer dry is like your best friend, because once it's dried out a little, it doesn't seep into your fine lines. And then like I'll just go over this line while I'm here. Okay, now that that's blended and you turn, see this harsh line, or is blending too far back into my hairline, I take the same brush and I just work it in. See, it's looking better. Like literally just keep blending, keep blending. Okay, so under my eyes is looking chef kiss, like I love it. Nice and bright. We're gonna use a cream blush before we set my under eyes. We're gonna be using the Milani Cheek Kiss like blush trio. I really love this formula. I love that they put it in a trio now so you can try out more colors, because this is like the original compact. You could still buy it like this if you already know what colors you love, but I just really love it in this compact. We're gonna use the darker shade today. These are very pigmented, so watch yourself when you dip your brush in there, because I definitely went a little too hard. And I put a little bit on my nose too, like the tip of my nose. And instead of like continuing to blend it out with that brush because it has too much product on there, I'm just gonna press it in with my sponge. So for under my eyes, we're gonna be using the Laura Mercier in Honey. So before I go in with that, I'm going to press out these creases. You see when you dab in, there's a lot of concealer on there. Just dab it on the back of your hand. Take off the excess so you don't get that blotchy under eye, and just pat it in. My sponge is wet. That looks good. That looks really good. Okay, so now we're gonna do the other eye. Like, make sure you're getting powder into those creases so they don't become pronounced throughout the day. If you need to, you could bake. I typically don't bake. I might leave a little bit of residue of powder on my face, but I don't bake heavily. My lips look pretty dry, so I'm going to be using the Artist Couture Silky Lips just to prep before I put on anything on my lips, because dry lips and glam don't mix. Okay, so now we're going to set everything. I like to use my Dior powder. I have it in 4 Neutral. It's a translucent powder, so it's not going to really add too much color, but it's going to set my face, and I like to use it to kick off my powder. Now we're going to use some bronzer. This one's by Makeup by Mario in the shade Dark, and I just go around where I put the cream bronzer. To some people, they might like their makeup matte like this, but I typically like my skin. I like my skin to look like skin. I don't really like it to look super matte. So I'm going to use my Morphe Luminous setting spray. Like, I just got a silk press, so I don't want to get any moisture on there, but and then I take a little bit on my sponge and I tap it in. Like, if your under your eyes looks really dry, just put some setting spray on your sponge and tap in on your skin. Like, it makes the world of a difference. Better. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into the eyes. For the look on the box, I use the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. Like, this is my go-to. I usually don't curse on this channel, but this is my go-to be. Like, when I'm traveling out of town, this is the palette that I typically take with me, because I could do just about anything with this. So today we're going to be trying something different. This is the Midas Cosmetics X Kohl MUA Served Soft palette. It pretty much is like a dupe for the other palette to me, but with shimmers in it. Like, I personally love Midas Cosmetics eyeshadows. They're really nice. Not only is this palette beautiful, but it's by a black owned brand. So I wanted to just try this out today. Okay, so I'm loving the transition shades that's in this palette. It's gorgeous. I'm gonna start off with Dulce de Leche. We're gonna tap in Hot Fudge, also in the crease, but like just a little bit lower than where you placed the first shade. I'm gonna use Mocha just to cool this eye down a little bit. It got pretty warm on me, but that's based on the colors that I was choosing. Yeah, that looks better. And now I'm just gonna blend these colors together. I'm gonna take a little bit of my setting powder just to control where the eyeshadow goes and neaten up these lines. Like, I always do one eye better than the other. Just put some powder down there. Yeah, we're gonna take Butter Pecan, this one right here, and put that on my lid. And I'm gonna take this brush by Morphe. It's a part of the Makeup by Real collection. Like, this is my favorite brush because I use it for like eyeliner, and it's really precise. It gets like really up in there on that lash line. So I'm gonna use Brain Freeze, which is that black color, with a little bit of Mocha. The black is looking pretty harsh, so I'm gonna try to use more of the dark brown. I'm gonna go in with mocha on my bottom lash line. Okay, and these are the eyes. What's gonna pull it all together is the lashes, so I'm gonna put on So Extra Miami. So okay, so we were close to the end of the look and my brows look rough, so that's why I say like I wait till the end to like complete them. Now we're gonna go in with the Milani Weekend Brow, which is a brow pen. I also use it in the shade Espresso, and I just go in there and create hair-like strokes. Now I'm gonna take some clear brow gel. Even though I don't have many hairs to hold, this just tones down how strong the brow pen looks. See, it's a lot less harsh than this side. Okay, this is a little bit of Milani's Dulce Pink, and just put that on top. Just do the lips now. I'm using BFF3 by ColourPop. And like, this lipstick is so buttery and creamy. It's really nice, really nice. I'm gonna add a little highlighter even though I don't need it. This is also by Milani. This is in Rosa Italiana. Like, I feel like I look pretty matte right now, but it's gonna wear beautifully throughout the day. Like, once your skin oils start mixing with this, it's gonna give me what I want, which is more of a dewy skin-like finish. Okay, so I'm gonna do my hair and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back and this is the final look. What do you guys think? This is pretty much the look that I do every time I have to do something that's somewhat important. Like, this is my go-to glam. The only thing that I switched out today was the palette that I typically use. Like, I normally use the Makeup by Mario palette, which is a little more on the cooler side. The Soft Serve palette is giving you a little bit of both. I was drawn to more of the warmer shades, but this look is typically a cool matte look, so I had to even it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I've been promising you guys this video on Instagram for the longest, so it's finally here. I hope you guys found some of my tips helpful. If you guys would like to see more videos like this, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, and if you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.